Ho! Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! And welcome to Desert Trippin' Day 2025. And I am just leaving my son's palatial Las Vegas residence. And we had a wonderful visit. And it's the end of the year. This year kind of snuck up on me, kicked me in the ass a few times, and then it's running away now. It's slipping through my fingers faster than I can grab it. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to kind of check in with everybody, catch up, give you a quick channel update, and just kind of hang out for a little while. I'm going to be trapped here in my car for about at least 4.5, maybe 5.5 hours. Although Christmas Day usually is not too bad traffic-wise, especially in the desert, especially going back to LA on a Christmas Sunday. But you can kind of see behind me that very few people on the road here in Las Vegas. I should put my seatbelt on. And, this is a trip that many of you have been on with me in different sections from time to time. Many of my videos over the years have been from the road between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. I think I started in, was it late 2018 or 2019, early, before COVID, and I was just, out driving home from visiting Joey, and I had been noticing some cool stuff on the side of the road for a while, and I had been kind of going off and photographing things, just to break up the monotony of that long drive. And to do something creative, and I turned on my video camera one day, and that was the very first Desert Trippin' episode. If you've never seen it, I don't hate it. I like it because it was so innocent and kind of naive and pure. I think I shot it in vertical format, and I was just trying to find my voice and find out what I creatively wanted to do with this channel. And I think I went to a billboard, and it said, I always thought it said "Aware Slaves," and then someone else, my friend Ryan Moore, shout out to you, he pushed back and he said, I don't think it says slave, it looks like it says gloves. And then I always thought it was aware gloves, and what does that mean? And then I now realize that Aware was a pretty well-known but off-the-grid graffiti artist. I think he was maybe one of the founders of that renegade protest art group, In Decline. They have a YouTube channel also. They've done protest videos about a lot of topics. The one that brought them to my attention was they did a video on the Gold Dome Mill, which isn't too far from here. If I wasn't in a hurry to get back home for dinner, I would stop by there on the way home just to check on something I left there before. But we'll do that another time. Anyway, Aware was the name of this kind of an activist, a graffiti artist, who was trying to build up social awareness for certain things. I found out he died a few years ago, so rest in peace. I don't know all the causes that he was supporting. The one I know about was, he supported companies not destroying the planet, not destroying the desert, not letting greed be their only guiding principle. And that's what that was what his message was, I think, on the Gold Dome Mill. So that was my first stop on Desert Trippin' Volume 1. It was that there, we're now 6-7 years later, and I love that spot, like walking around it. There were little pebbles on the ground that caught a lot of the colorful paints that were used on that graffiti project. And I remember going around and picking up little rocks and little souvenirs, and I have some at home. If anyone wants one, send me a message and we'll figure out how to get you one. I mean, I'm perfectly fine mailing you one of those little pebbles with the cool paint pattern on it. Really like the coloration. Looks like little Jackson Pollock paintings, some of them. Some of them are more Picasso-esque. So Desert Trippin' Volume 1 started at the that billboard, and it was off of what was that off ramp? Can't remember. It was sort of before Baker, I think. It'll come to me. And then I think I wound up from there going into Barstow, and I believe I drove around Barstow a little bit, and I thought it would be a cool feat of strength or a daring stunt to go into a Chinese restaurant in the middle of the Mojave Desert, but it actually turned out to be pretty decent food. So I went into the I think it was the China Peking Canton Kitchen, I believe. Canton restaurant. And I don't know if it's still there, but it's half Chinese food, half American food, because they're trying to stay in business, and not a lot of people want to eat Chinese food in the desert. So you can get a nice hamburger there with fries, or you can get some, chicken chow mein and spicy Chinese chicken wings. They have a whole menu. So check them out. Okay, Christmas, driving home, our early origins. Let me let you know what's been going on lately is I've been editing a video, which has been taking me forever. It's footage I shot almost a year ago. It was Easter of 2025, which was in April, and it was of the Gold Dome Mill. And what happened was I had that footage in my camera, and then I wound up going to Bombay Beach and staying overnight and being there. I thought I was going to Biennale for the first time. I was so excited. But it turned out that Biennale was canceled, and they were having a different kind of event called Convivium. But Convivium was really cool too. That both are celebrations of creativity and creativity and imagination and human interaction, I guess, philosophy, and intellectual stimulation. So when I went there, I mean, I wound up with so much cool stuff. You can't not get footage or photos in Bombay Beach. I mean, it's just so many amazing things to photograph there, and so many amazing people. And we met some really cool people on that trip. I think we met and hung out with Sean Guerrero, who's like one of the preeminent sculptors, who's made a bunch of large installation sculptures out there. You can check out, there's a whole video about Sean Guerrero. We saw we went to the drive-in, the drive-in, which is an art installation. We were out on the playa when there was all these parties going on. It was wild. It really was cool. And maybe the highlight, the highlight was probably meeting Tao Ruspoli, and I hope I'm saying his name right. And Tao, he's one of 3 people who started the Bombay Beach Biennale, and I think it's the 10th anniversary coming up this year. So that was really cool to meet him. And he's such a nice person, very interesting guy. There's a video that I did about Tao. He has a fascinating backstory, and he's just a fascinating person even without that backstory. So check that out if you're curious. And what all those Bombay Beach videos did to me was it sort of kept pushing the Gold Dome Mill back further and further. And now I'm finally trying to get it done before the end of the year. I'd love to get that one finished and out, because the Gold Dome Mill is actually a really cool, interesting location. So send me some positive vibes and encouragement, because I do want to finish editing that. I think I'm almost close to having a complete rough cut, which I then have to go back in and, improve it here and there, fix the color, fix the lighting, and any audio stuff that I am able to fix. I mean, I'm somewhat limited that I'm not a professional editor, but I know quite a few tricks now, and I'm doing my best. So that should be coming out hopefully. Today's the 25th. I have 5 or 6 days to get it out by the end of the year. It'll definitely be out within a week. Okay, so that's going to be happening. And I have not been able to go out and shoot any new content for a while, although I have a whole bunch of ideas and I have plans to do a bunch of things. A little something about me. I don't know if you know that I've been a creative person in the advertising industry for my whole career. I went to Art Center back in the 80s in Pasadena, and that's a really good school. I don't know if it still is, but it used to be very hard to get into. You had to be selected, and so I went there. I was lucky to get some financial aid, paid off my loan after I graduated, but it opened a lot of doors for me to get interviews and to be able to show people my portfolio, to try to get a job, and I actually wound up getting a job eventually in advertising. And back when I was coming up in the ad industry, creativity was really important. Like and it was cool because you had to think of big ideas and cool concepts, and it was a higher art form. Of course, you were trying to persuade people to do something. It was commercial art, but it was still was art, like you're using images, film, video, music, sound, light, color, type, and words. Obviously words were a big part. So there was a whole Renaissance period, following, the 60s, when Madison Avenue became a major force of business in the country. They had great campaigns back in the 60s for Volkswagen, and then in the early 80s, Chiat had 1984 for Apple Computer. These were, game-changing campaigns that were pivotal moments in our culture that shifted people's thinking from one way of thinking to the next. And now what's happened in the industry is creativity has taken a back seat to data and analytics and greed. I think greed is a big driver now. I mean, it used to be that a lot of agencies, they could be greedy because they were so creative and people would pay them more money to get that creative product. But now people aren't paying big money for for big ideas necessarily. They're paying money for results, and results can be gotten just by repetition or bombarding people with the same message over and over, or timing the message and targeting people, like when they're death scrolling at night, if they're on certain websites, the data is out there, they know where you are, they know what you like, they know what you're thinking, and they'll serve you things that they know you'll buy and then engage with you, so you wind up becoming a customer. And it's become very scientific. And science and art, I think there's a connection, but when one becomes too dominant, then the other suffers. So long story short, creative people used to be celebrated and sought after by headhunters, and you could kind of fuck up and get drunk and miss work a few times and you'd be threatened. But if you were really creative and always doing good work, they would kind of give you a break. Nowadays, there's no slack. You basically have to be a good employee. You have to follow the rules. You have to get in line. You can't talk shit. You can't criticize the company. You have to be a super Boy Scout, Girl Scout, whatever. You know, you can't make trouble, can't make waves. Just do your job, keep your head down, and do as you're told. It's really become kind of a shadow of what it used to be, which is sad. And I've been lucky that, you know, I don't want to give away all my secrets, but I've been lucky to find some clients and some channels where creativity is still being celebrated. People still seem to value the power of a good idea, or a funny headline, or a funny idea, or a funny concept. And so even though I'm making a lot less money now for my time, I'm enjoying that process. And so I consider myself to be very lucky. Also very lucky that as I'm getting older, people always tell me you look a lot younger than you really are, so I'll just leave it at that. That whatever you're seeing right now here, add 25 or 30 years, and that's probably my age. So I'm really 107 years old is what I'm trying to tell you. Seriously, I'm lucky to be somewhat healthy, still can form a complete sentence. I'm not drooling out of the corner of my mouth when I'm talking to you. So I consider myself kind of lucky in that regard. And having a late career run of work is great. I mean, my main client, actually more of a business partner, who helps find a lot of these clients, all of them for that matter. And my other partner, the three of us kind of are a little nucleus of people that, you know, work for hire for these different companies to help them with their marketing and their branding and their promotions. And we've actually won 3 Emmy Awards in the last 5 years and a bunch of Addies. We just have not been entering that many award shows lately, but you know, I'm proud of the work I've been doing. A lot of it is pretty solid. Even the stuff that is a little too creative for the client, we're able to sell things that are creatively competent, which is better than a lot of the stuff that's out there. A lot of stuff that's out there right now is just throw a logo up, repeat the name of the client 5 times, you know, run 1 million banner ads and hope that people go to your website. So we're trying to do things still, I guess it's the old-fashioned way, where we try to have a big idea that will change the way people think or think about your brand. And we've been able to do that for a handful of clients who are very appreciative. And I guess that brings me to probably the last thing I want to talk about, and that is appreciation. And I appreciate you people. I was going to say There was a story, it's all over YouTube and the news right now, about a pretty prominent YouTuber named Adam the Woo. And Adam, he passed away a few days ago, and everyone's talking about it. And I remember when I first started on my YouTube journey, I remember seeing a lot of his videos. He explored not just desert places, but he explored theme parks a lot and cool places of interest. And he had a very good persona. I really liked the guy. And I think I subscribed to him for many years, and I followed him, you go in patterns where you watch somebody's channel for a while and then something else comes along, you start watching that. And I'd go back and forth. And when I heard that he passed away, I went online and wanted to see what his last video was, and I realized I had unsubscribed from him. And I kind of remember why, and it wasn't personal. I never thought he would be deceased right now. I thought there were many years to go, and I just needed a little time out from him because he was talking about moving away from California, I was pretty sensitive to that because I think a lot of people talk shit about California all the time. I don't like to talk shit about anybody's state. I think that there's good to be seen everywhere. And I think he was a little bit critical. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And I said, okay, I don't want to keep subscribing to him if he's anti-California, and maybe he wasn't. Maybe I misread the whole thing he was saying. And I apologize, post-mortem here to him, because I really did like him. I did like his persona, his, the way he told a story, and he was always curious. He was always exploring things. And I think that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to explore things. I had a natural curiosity, and I thought if I go out and explore things and document it for people, somebody who lives on the other side of the world who can't see the Mojave Desert or Gold Dome Mill or Slab City or Charles Manson's hideout in Death Valley, people who couldn't normally go to see those places could at least experience them. They'd have to go with me because I'm the one driving there and talking on the video the whole time, but I would try to add some insight or some humor or some observations that might make it interesting. And that's what Adam did. And I felt kind of bummed out that obviously I was bummed out. I didn't know him personally, but I was sad that he is deceased. He passed away in Florida, and I think his last video was him walking around his town looking at all the Christmas decorations, and he ran into a guy who was dressed up like the Grinch, and they got in his golf cart and they drove around together. And it's just really charming to see how he relates to people and how he tells his stories. These are things I can't tell him now because he's gone, and that was the point I wanted to make to you people, that it's Christmas Day. If there's somebody that you've been thinking about and you haven't spoken to, or you haven't even texted or checked in with them on social media in a while, do it. Just go say hi. Just say, hey, just checking in. If there are things that you want to tell somebody, that you appreciate them, or maybe if they're going through a hard time, you want to give them some words of encouragement, or just let them vent to you and get something off their chest, do it. Maybe not today. Today's a busy day, but if you can do it today, do it today. It doesn't matter if it's December 25th or January 4th or September 4th or whatever. If you think about somebody and you want to say something nice to them, I encourage you to do that. I guess even if you want to say something that's not nice, if there's something that has been bothering you and you want to just let them know, get it out there. You know, I mean, if we're still going here. Lost you for a minute. If you're still there, let me finish what I was going to say. In the case of Adam Wu, I could have sent him a comment or a private message. Hey, you know, if that's what I was taking issue with. I actually forgot why I unsubscribed, but I should have done it. And it's like you might not have another chance to say these things to people. I've done this with a couple of my friends. I like to do living eulogies. Like I'm at the age now where I've lost a few friends, a few family members, and sometimes I've had to speak at their funerals or their memorial services. And I've noticed, even if it's someone else making the speech, all of this wonderful stuff comes out about somebody and how they were so positive, or they could brighten the room when they walked in, or they were an inspiration for this reason or that. And I was thinking, those would be nice things to tell people while they're alive. We shouldn't, for someone to be gone